Okay, so there is a mass exodus happening right now from ChatGPT. People are leaving in waves, and most of them are actually going to Claude. And as a response to this, Claude just released their import memory function, where you can essentially generate all the context from one AI tool like GPT and import it into Claude. I think that is awesome, but I'm actually going to tell you not to use it, at least not in the way they designed it. Because here is the thing. When you hit that import button, you're handing over control. You're essentially letting an algorithm decide what matters about you, what to keep, what to ignore, how to summarize months, maybe even years of your thinking, and you just have to trust that it got it right. But there's a much better approach that I'm about to teach you. One that puts you in the driver's seat. One that gives you something way more valuable than just imported memory. It will give you ownership over your own context. So today, I'm going to walk you through a 5-step process where you're going to export your entire ChatGPT history, run it through Claude, and actually shape what gets imported on the other side. You're going to see your own patterns, decide what still matters, and walk away with something most people never build. A curated profile of how you think, what you care about, and what's actually relevant to you. We'll call it a portable personal context layer that works on any platform with any tool forever. Let's get into it. All right, so here is our game plan today. So step 1, first, we are actually going to export all of our data from ChatGPT. So depending on how much you've used GPT, this could be a lot because we're getting actually all of our conversations. Step 2, we're going to set up a new Claude Cowork session where we actually will drop all of those chat conversations. Step 3, we're going to generate what I'm calling the mirror report, which will essentially give us a pretty detailed analysis of our conversations so far. Step 4, we will then curate what exactly we want to include in Claude. And finally, step 5, we will generate a clean memory profile that we can then import into Claude's memory tool. Let's get started. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Sunny, and I'm a serial founder now on my 4th startup and a former senior engineer at Bloomberg and Shopify, and currently an adjunct professor at Columbia Business School, where I teach tech and AI. I've been building in tech for over 15 years, well before AI. And my goal for this video, and really all my videos, is to help you make sense of the ever-evolving, rapidly changing tech landscape that we find ourselves in, and to make all of these AI tools more accessible to more people. Let's get started with our first step. So first things first, let's talk about what is actually happening right now. If you've been paying any attention at all, you will notice that a lot of people are switching AI platforms, not just casually trying something new, but actually moving from ChatGPT to Claude, moving from Claude to Gemini, and then back again. So the landscape is shifting super fast, and unfortunately, there are no signs that things will slow down. So here's my broader take on this. We are in a permanent state of tool destabilization. This isn't a one-time migration. This is the new normal. ChatGPT to Claude today, Claude to something else in 18 months, maybe sooner. The cycle is going to keep accelerating because these models are getting better at different rates. They are competing on different things, and most importantly, your needs as a professional are going to be evolving too. So the skill that matters, that actually matters, isn't mastering any one tool. It's building systems that survive these transitions. The professionals who get this are already thinking about their context as platform independent, because the half-life of any AI tool right now is trending shorter. Tools depreciate, but your thinking, your accumulated context, that should compound. That is the asset that carries forward. So here's what most people do when they switch. They actually start over, fresh chat, no context, back to square one. And that is insane because you have spent months, maybe years, building up this incredibly rich relationship with an AI tool. Every question you've asked, every problem you've worked through, every preference you've expressed, that is all just gone. But of course, what if I could tell you that you could carry over your professional context, personal and professional? That is exactly what we are talking about today. All right, let's proceed with our first step. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my ChatGPT here. I'm going to click down here and then click into settings. And what I want to do is I want to go to data controls and export data. From there, they're going to do some further authentication. They're going to send me a code. Let me copy that over right now. Okay, so what this is going to do is it's going to export all of my data. That includes my memory, my context, and most importantly, the actual conversations I've had. So if I click confirm export, it will then send me a link for all of the data. So I'm clicking confirm export. And now we will receive an email with a link to download all of my data. Now, what we should actually see is an email from ChatGPT immediately indicating that the export process has started. So this could take an hour. It could take up to 24 hours. It depends on, of course, OpenAI. So once we have that, we can then go ahead and download that data. So again, that may take up to an hour. It could take up to 24 hours. So if you're still waiting on your export, just pause this video. And once you get that final email with the download link, come right back and I'll show you what you should be looking for. So once you actually download, you should have a file called conversations.json. So the JSON here represents a specific format that the data is being held in. And this really should be all of your conversations. I've actually prepared a fake conversations file because I did not want to share my own personal ChatGPT history, but you can actually see all of the different conversations here. Yours might be a bit larger if you're dealing with a lot of years of data, but this is really the most important file that we want to get. All right, so let's move on to our next step, which is setting up a Claude Cowork session. If you haven't used Cowork before, here is the quick version. Cowork is basically Claude's desktop app where you can basically point it to folders and files on your actual computer, and it could then read them, work with them, create new files, all while having a conversation with you. So instead of pasting text into a chat window, you are giving Claude direct access to your files. Think of it like pair programming, but for any kind of knowledge work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a Claude Cowork session. So I'm going to click that. We already have this here. But before I do, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to create a new folder in my, I'm actually going to create a new folder on my hard drive. We'll call this my personal context. So I have this empty folder, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that conversation.json file. I'm going to take that conversation.json file and then paste it in here. So now we have a folder that has this conversation.json file. And to set up this new Claude Cowork session, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Work in Folder and select the folder that I just created. Okay, great. So now we have our Claude Cowork session set up. pointed to the specific folder that we want to give it access to. And in that folder, we have that conversations.json, which is all of our conversations. Okay, now on to step 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to generate something I'm calling the mirror report. And really, it is the centerpiece of this whole process. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this prompt. Again, I will have all the prompts ready for you in the description below. I've uploaded my ChatGPT conversations, giving all kinds of directives. But long story short, what this prompt is doing is it's instructing Claude to behave as an analyst of your behavior, not just summarizing conversations, but looking across all of the conversations to find patterns that you probably haven't noticed yourself. Now, most people have never actually read what the AI knows about them, and this prompt kind of forces that moment of reckoning. It's asking Claude to look at both what explicitly you have told ChatGPT, the things you consciously shared, but also what it learned about you implicitly, just from how you write and what you keep coming back to. And that second category is usually where people have their wait, really moment. And the then versus now, you'll see there's a then versus now section at the end is particularly powerful because your oldest conversations are basically a timestamp of who you were when you started using AI. And most people have changed way more than they realize. All right, let's actually go ahead and give this a go and see what it comes with on the other side. Okay, looks like we are done. Let's actually view this mirror report. So again, I created these conversations kind of like for a fictitious person named Rachel Torres. So cool, this is like a full report. It's only 20 conversations. I'm sure you will have more. The period, what we talk about most. So in this scenario, we're talking about product development, formulation, e-commerce and operations. Maybe this is some kind of marketer. It looks like we also talked about some personal things, the marriage, maybe, yeah, some therapy, a bunch of personal things, which is pretty consistent with what I'm seeing a lot of people use ChatGPT for. There's a lot of professional development, but there's also a lot of personal conversations that are being had, recurring projects and themes, some questions around skincare, for, I guess, an e-commerce company, of course, the marriage, so on and so forth. So this is pretty cool, right? I mean, we have all this information, all this analysis, but before we continue to the next step, I really want to emphasize this broader point. Your context is more valuable than any model's capabilities. A mediocre model with rich personal context will always outperform a frontier model that knows nothing about you every single time. The model is the engine, and you want to think of your context as the fuel. And right now, most people are pouring premium fuel into a rental car that they're about to return. Your accumulated context, your patterns, your preferences, your judgment expressed through hundreds of conversations, that is an asset, not the model, not the subscription, it's the context. And that's exactly what this mirror report kind of makes visible. It takes all of that implicit accumulated context and puts it right in front of you. The most powerful uses of AI are personal. Tools that think like you, tools that learn from you. This report is kind of that first step to actually building that. Okay, so now on to the next step. We have the mirror report. We can see everything Claude found, but now comes the step that actually most people skip. And it's honestly the most important part of this entire process. And that is curation. See, the mirror report is comprehensive. It's going to surface stuff from your earliest conversations that might be completely irrelevant to where you are right now. Projects you've moved on from, tools you no longer use, questions you've already answered. So what we are going to do is we're going to have a guided conversation with Claude to filter what actually matters right now. This isn't a form you fill out. It's a real back and forth. And the prompt I'm using to tell Claude, will tell Claude to ask you 5 or 6 targeted questions based on what it found in your history. I will obviously provide that prompt in the links below. But basically, Claude could come back with, your earliest conversations were heavily focused on data pipelines. Is that still a priority for you? Or is that a chapter that is closed? Or it could ask, you asked about launching a newsletter a few months ago, but never seemed to ask about that anymore. Is that something that you still want to carry forward, or are we letting that go? Or even around communication style. For example, Claude could be like, your communication style has shifted considerably. You started being way more specific in your prompts. Should your memory profile reflect that change, or reflect the full arc? And listen, this is the judgment layer. This is where you are actually in the driver's seat. The AI surface the patterns. You decide what those patterns actually mean. You decide what carries forward and what gets left behind. Now, this is exactly what I mean when I talk about being more of the CEO and less like the babysitter with AI. You're not reviewing every line of data. You are making high-level decisions about what matters. The essential skills here isn't technical. It's the ability to evaluate what you are looking at and own the outcome. Remember, AI handles the patterns, but you handle the exceptions. AI handles the output, but you handle the accountability. And this step right here is where that distinction becomes real. So I really want you to take your time with this part. Answer Claude's questions honestly, close the chapters that need closing, and of course, carry forward the stuff that is actually serving you. This is probably a 10-minute conversation, but it is probably the highest leverage 10 minutes in this entire workflow. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to paste this prompt, which will facilitate this question. Of course, the prompt will be included in the links below. Let's see what Claude comes back with. Okay, great. It's mirroring back some high-level thoughts. Let's respond. Are you still running do en route? And is it still a skincare brand? So just keeping tabs on what we have done in the past. We'll say yes. Good. So now it's getting more specific. How does your business look today? Business looks great. So now it's asking me what I'm using AI for now. Let's go with the scenario that I no longer want to use AI for personal stuff. I just want to use it for professional stuff, especially as I move over to Claude. So I'm just going to say only include professional stuff. Okay, so the most important thing is what we want to leave behind. Leave behind all personal stuff. Therapy, perfect. All of those things will stay in the ChatGPT history and everything else. Great. So now we've answered all the questions. Now we can move on to our next step. All right, so we are almost at the finish line. Claude is going to take everything from the mirror report, filtered through the curation decisions, and produce a clean memory file. That is what we are doing right now. And the output will be a paste-ready block that we could then drop directly into Claude's memory import tool. We'll just paste it in, and Claude will immediately have all of that memory for us, curated through our intentional decisions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this prompt. Again, we'll share all the prompts. So you'll see that we want a memory profile, giving it the purpose. So let's see what she comes back with. Okay, we have everything done. This is our memory profile. This has everything, which is awesome. We can now copy and paste that right into Claude. But first, here's my recommendation. I want you to treat this file like a living document. Update it quarterly, just like you'd update a resume or review your goals, because your context is evolving. Your priorities shift. The file should shift with them. Think of it like professional hygiene for the AI era, because every tool you build, every system you design should compound your leverage over time. This memory profile is exactly that, a portable context layer that gets more valuable the more intentional you are about maintaining it. Okay, so now that I've copied that memory profile, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Claude. I'm going to click on Settings, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on Capabilities. And then you should see here this import memory from other AI providers, and I can hit Start. We don't have to use this prompt because we have curated this, and then I'll simply paste and then save it. And there you go. You have successfully moved everything from ChatGPT to Claude. Not everything, but the things that are important to you right now. Okay, fantastic. So we have covered a lot, but I want to zoom out for a second. Here is the truth. We are going to keep switching tools. The pace of change basically guarantees it. New models, new platforms, new capabilities. It's not going to stabilize anytime soon. And the question isn't whether you'll switch, it's whether you switch as a blank slate or as someone who carries that context over with them. Listen, switching AI tools should feel like switching jobs. When you change jobs, it's not like you are forgetting everything you've learned. You don't lose your skills. You don't lose your network. You don't lose your professional identity. Instead, you bring everything with you, your resume, your references, your skills. You bring you. Switching AI tools should work the same way. And the fact that most people don't do this, the fact that they are kind of starting from zero every single time, tells you how early we still are in understanding what AI leverage actually looks like. Listen, the professionals who thrive going forward are not the ones who are compiling information. They are the ones who design systems that compile it for them. And what we built just now is a system, this curated, portable, human-owned context layer. The LLM is one component. Your context, though, is the real value. So let's recap what we have just built today. We exported our entire ChatGPT history. We ran it through a Claude Cowork session to generate a mirror report, which is a structured analysis of our context. We curated it through a guided conversation, so it reflects who we are right now. And we produced a clean, portable memory profile that works on any platform. We now have something that 99% of AI users don't, a portable context layer that is entirely ours. So here's what I want you to do. Go run this workflow today, export your data, build your profile, and if you find something surprising in your mirror report, and you will, drop it in the comments or tag me on Twitter or LinkedIn. I genuinely want to see what people discover about their own patterns, assuming it's not too personal. The prompts I use in this video, as I said, are going to be linked in the description below. Now, if you stuck around till the end of this video, I appreciate you. I will see you on the next one.